From the Gulf to the Pacific, and from Canada to Mexico, this is the PAC Podcast.
Pack it up, pack it in, let us begin. Again, another episode of the PAC Podcast, and welcome to our first guest, Michael Molinari, the SVP of PAC-12 Enterprises, and he's here to talk about the production and the broadcasts that we're going to be watching all season long in football and basketball across the various Pac-12 broadcast partners. First of all, thank you for joining us. Welcome, and congratulations on getting the Pac-12 relaunched as a conference. I know it was a lot of work and long days in the last few years.
Well, first of all, Doug, thanks for having me. And ultimate congratulations go to our commissioner, Teresa Gould, who is one of the greatest galvanizers I've ever seen. She can get some people in a room and make things happen. And it was an amazing day when the former Mountain West teams joined. And then a few weeks later, Gonzaga joined our conference. And I knew we were going to have a 5-year run at least with the media deal. And a lot of the people that I convinced to stay with Pac-12 Enterprises, our production arm, we're going to have a job for the next 6 years. So that was a great moment for me early on.
Yeah, you've got decades of production experience in television, and this is an interesting one because it's a new conference, but it's launching with established IP and traditions, which is very uncommon in college sports. And as a person that has the experience you have, what are you excited about as the Pac-12 starts this new chapter with new schools and broadcast partners like USA Network, the CW, and CBS Sports Network?
Well, I'm excited I'm excited that we're going to start playing football in about a little bit over a week. That is the most exciting thing for me. I was in our offices yesterday, and they call it the bullpen. It's the place where all the production assistants watch the games and put highlights together. And we had about 12 people in there, men and women, who are going to be new to our team and learning how to do their job, which they're going to be doing starting next Saturday. And that was really exciting for me. The activity in the building, we're going to have so much activity in our building. For those who don't know, you mentioned our partner CW has been with us now. This will be the third year. We've produced all of the football that appears on CW, the Pac-12 games, for them in our building in San Ramon. REMI production style, which is remote production. The camera operators, the announcers are on site. The signals come back to our building. We put it together. I like to say in the old days, it was a production truck 600 feet from the broadcasters in the press box. Now we might be 600 miles away. The goal is that the tech we have makes it almost seamless for the announcers and the camera operators, that we're all still together, closer together vicinity, but the tech is allowing us to be further away and be obviously more efficient economically, because we don't have to fly everybody to the games each week.
And that's one of the, and especially with weather and travel delays, you never know what that could entail. But we've all seen true remote broadcasts on college football and college sports in recent years. But having the crew announcing the game on site is what makes you feel like you're there. It gives that immediacy, it gives that energy broadcast back to the audience. The production truck being wherever it is, as long as it's technically possible, is not going to be noticed as well by the home audience. And so I think what you guys are doing, this hybrid, is a genius idea. I think it's going to be one that a lot of companies I'm sure have been talking to you about and are looking to adopt.
Well, that's the interesting point. Well, I'll say one thing. The key, and I learned, because as you mentioned, I'd been a long time. I was over 20 years as a producer of college sports, NBA, various companies, ESPN, and Pac-12 Networks was sort of my split for the last 12 years. I had worked with, interestingly enough, CBS in my early days in the late 90s. Some of the people running production now I worked with as a production assistants back in the late 90s, which was interesting. USA Sports is run by a former Turner Sports executive, Jeff Benke, who was my producer on NBA. I was his graphics assistant on the NBA in the late 90s. And Jason Wormser, who I was in charge at CW. I knew a little bit from at ESPN again in the late 90s, seems like, where I met everybody. And now it's kind of a reunion now in the 2020s. So that's been kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. And those broadcast partners, let me ask you this. I know one of your things, your mantras as a former guy in the truck, is to not get lost in the notes, not have your notes that you're going to go check down this list. So this was going to be a later question, but you brought it up organically. So we'll kind of move to that. Is, what do you tell people when they ask you, how can I watch the Pac-12 this season? What is your answer to them? Because it is split across a few networks. And then there are other games, like the first game is not on one of those networks. It's on Fox. It's a Fresno State USC game that's going to be on Fox because USC is the home game. What do you tell people when they ask, how do I watch the Pac-12? Because the Pac-12 network that we got used to no longer exists.
Well, I would say for accessibility, it's an upgrade right now. Every home football game, which for those who don't know, the conferences control their home football games for their television partners. So when we have an away game, if it's at a Big Ten school, then that's going to be on Fox or CBS or NBC. But if it's a home Pac-12 game, one thing I can tell you is going to be on linear television. It's either going to be CBS over the air, CBS Sports Network, CW over the air, or USA Sports on cable. So we have there's not one football game that is going to be streamed. Everything is linear, which has never happened. I don't know if there's one conference in America other than the Pac-12 that has that going for it. So it's available if you have basic cable. Certainly it's available in your home. The second part, the Olympic sports, right now, every Olympic sport is on YouTube. So I don't know about you, but my two daughters have never turned on the television set in my house other than to watch a movie, but they're on their iPads on YouTube. And if I tell them a game's on YouTube or they need to find something on YouTube, they're thrilled. And we've received an amazing reaction on that. So right now, I think we've done a 180 in accessibility for our audience for both football and our Olympic sports right now.
Yeah, I'm already watching more soccer and women's volleyball than I ever have because of the accessibility on YouTube and just seeing the games. And I know volleyball season's just getting started and launching this weekend with some regular season tournaments. And it's exciting to have that accessibility. So we know that it's broadcast all around. And you mentioned USA Network. They have not had college sports in a very long time. I think they did some college bowl games in the 80s, but it has been a minute since USA Network has broadcast college sports. But I look at it as kind of as an NHL fan. I remember when they went to OLN and everybody said, oh, what a downgrade. But the thing that I liked about it was that they treated it like a big sport. It was not an afterthought. It was a major thing. And I think from what I'm reading, and I know you guys are handling 90% of the production, because of that, the Pac-12 games are going to be treated as big events in every broadcast, not afterthoughts, correct?
Well, who better to have as your packager? Packager is hiring a company to produce the game for you. Almost every network does it on various sports. But who better to have your packager than the conference itself that is trying to build their brand and promote their sport? And I mean, so the perfect packager to me for anybody on a Pac-12 sport is Pac-12 Enterprises, because we care more than anyone about the product. So I think that's a great mix. And you mentioned the commitment of USA Sports. They just finished up a barnstorming tour where sets of announcers, Ryan Leaf's going to be one of their announcers, for instance, and the producers who are going to be working on the games went to individual schools for a day and watched practice, met with the coaches, met with players. And when I say barnstorming, it was Boise State Tuesday, Fresno State Wednesday, Colorado State. Like they were in and out each day to another site. It was pretty it's pretty fun and amazing. I know the schools themselves were ecstatic about the commitment of USA Sports, and so am I.
Now, last week, the Pac-12 announced some exciting innovations for their broadcast this season: coach and player microphones and a dedicated camera that's going to track the coaches to sync, so that when they get those great moments on the mic, they have them on camera. How is that going to be utilized in the games, and how much discretion have the coaches given you in using what they say?
Well, you mentioned I've been in TV a long time. So the first NBA wired, which was a Utah Jazz at Phoenix Suns game, I was the wired producer, which is the person in charge of listening and deciding, okay, what's good sound that we want to try to put into the show. And so I've been working on sound since whenever that was, probably somewhere in the early 2000s. So the safety net, I think the one thing I'll say to you, your audience, and I've said to the coaches and ADs and anyone who listen, nothing is live. It is recorded. It is screened. We actually have a designated screener from each school that from San Ramon will send back the audio for them to listen to and approve. And then once they approve it, we can put it into the game. So if you watch it, and the best example is NBA. So you'll hear a montage of sound from the coaches and or players, having the players. I think every one of our coaches has agreed to wear a mic during the game. And I think we're up to 5 of the 8 schools have agreed to let us mic a player. As far as the cameras go, it's a bit of a collaboration between our board shows at the schools are going to help us a little bit to keep it a camera on while the game is in action. And then our cameras will shift. We also may use a dedicated AI camera that we're working on. And I know there's some people out there that think AI is going to take over a camera. No, there's nobody, well, very few people that understand and value the work of a camera operator on a live sport event. There's no way AI would ever be able to do that. But if it's a simple task of, I'm going to put a tracker in a coach's pocket and the camera is going to follow the coach. What that does is, I know, it may take, if it's AI, it might take away a camera operator's job, but we're adding 2 jobs in San Ramon with an editor and a producer to get that sound created. So it's actually certainly adding content and certainly adding some work for people, which I definitely value. I think, half the fun of getting new business into our building is that there's going to be more work for our amazing freelance staff that can come in and work for us and put on great productions.
It sounds almost like a drone camera where you can have that follow you on a bike trail or on a hike.
Yeah, it's a
like
similar.
that.
There's facial recognition, but has anyone who's tried to find the coach on a sideline of a football game, it would be nice to also perhaps have a little tracker in the pocket, because they can, and it's amazing how there's always an assistant that wears the same hat as the head coach and is like a doppelganger. I don't know why. I don't know if that's planned, but it seems like that happens a lot of times.
Yeah. Now, one of the great things about college sports, as you well know from your experience and our fans know, is the atmosphere, the traditions. A lot of broadcasts, I think, come in where it's turnkey on the traditions. It's the biggest cocktail party in America. It's Oklahoma to Texas. You don't need to explain Michigan, Ohio State. You get it as soon as you turn it on. For the Pac-12, it's going to take some explaining, I think, for some of the traditions that are new to people. And one of the ones that I'm interested in is, you mentioned the home games, Wyoming, Colorado State, week 1. One of, to me, the most historic rivalries in the nation. Some really cool traditions that happen before kickoff even gets started and days before, with the running of the football from one state to another, the cannon at the state line, all of that stuff. How are you working with your crew and us as the, not trying to tell the story, but also show the game, to bring that flavor to audiences and explain the Pac-12 traditions?
Well, I'd look at it as an opportunity, right? We don't have, the largest brands. I would almost say the traditions have almost been played out. Like, I would call it the catch a fish in Seattle. If I see that one more time on a broadcast, like let's come up with something else, right? So we have an opportunity to bring a lot of these traditions that many people aren't aware of on a national basis. So the USA sports production people have been certainly fully behind that, which is one of the reasons for the barnstorming tour. So, and then couple that with, we have the cooperation of our schools' video departments to help us, which I think that's what one of the unique aspects of Pac-12 Enterprises. It's collaborative with us and our school broadcast teams. I did my own barnstorming tour last summer. First thing I said to almost everyone is, this is not a draconian enterprise. I'm coming in to work with you. We want everybody you've already established. Like all the Mountain West schools had been producing their own local shows, Olympic shows for 4 or 5 years. So that was an asset I looked at. So right now, most of the Olympic shows are being produced by the schools themselves, coming through Pac-12 Enterprises to distribute to YouTube. We provided a graphics package and animation. So in a way, it's more of a collaborative effort. So the fact that we have the experts of all of those traditions that know where to get those shots, can get that video and share it with us to get on the national platform, I think we have an opportunity, and we have built-in infrastructure to capture a lot of those stories you're speaking of.
Yeah, the catch a fish in Seattle reminds me of James Gunn's mantra with the new DC is, I don't need to see, Bruce Wayne's parents get shot ever again. We know that story. We don't need to see Peter Parker bit by a spider. Yeah.
Cougar Gold cheese might be played out, so there's a few things that
and they're checking boxes on productions. Honestly, it's like, we got to show these 5 things in the intro to set the stage, and then we come into the stadium, and then we go to break, and we come back, and we have kickoff. I mean, it's formulaic, and you cannot tell one year from the next.
It's challenging. I tell a lot of new analysts, your challenge is to teach your grandmother about the play without insulting the coach that's also watching the game. So that's your challenge. And also the person next to you, there's a difference between waiting for that person to stop talking and then I'm going to speak, and actually listening to what the person next to you is saying. And to me, that's a bad broadcast, is 3 or 4 times within the first 10 minutes, the two people have said the same thing within 1 minute of each other, because they're not listening to each other. They're waiting for the other person to stop talking, but they're not listening. So
yeah, it reminds me of like talk shows when it's obviously they've set up what they want to talk about in advance. And so I understand you've been going to zoos a lot lately. Oh, let me tell you, they launch into it, and it's just, there's nothing organic about it. They're just hitting
or you ask the question, the next question has already been answered in the answer, but you're not listening. So listening to me, of all things, listening is probably the biggest key to a succinct, good broadcast. Everybody listening to each other. Production truck, announcers to each other, camera operators to the no way AI is ever going to be able to hear what the analyst is talking about or that player and get you that shot instantly. It's never going to work. So great broadcast, the cameras are listening to the announcers and getting the shots for the directors. Great directors are selectors. They're not directors. They're selecting the shots from a great trained camera operations team that they've worked with, that listen to the announcers and are providing the they're fighting over getting on the air because everybody has what the director needs.
It is, and not to get too deep into the weeds here, but I've been in production trucks as well. And that ability to do exactly what you're talking about, to see something live and also see the different options you have for the replays, and also hear what your crew is telling you in your ear about what they have and what they need to do and what time you need to hit a break, and coordinating that is almost impossible to teach. And it's a learned skill. And once you have it, it is second nature, but it's very tough to do. And it's amazing to watch when you see it live.
I did what you described for about 25 years at some of the, and some pretty major events, but all that is very comforting, but presenting a PowerPoint in front of 9 ADs is terrifying. It's just what you're used to.
Yes, 100%. I've done stand-up comedy. If I had to do karaoke, I would be petrified.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, the Utah State Aggies, let's talk about college basketball for a second. They have one of the greatest atmospheres for home basketball games in the nation. I've gone to see games at COSM, which is down here in LA, and is an amazingly immersive experience of watching, feeling like you're at the game, to the point that a friend of mine, we were watching game that was being played in Nashville, and the storm clouds were coming in, and she said, I didn't even bring an umbrella. We should, it looks like it's going to rain on our way home. And I'm like, we're not there. But that immersive atmosphere, and they bring Nat sound in a lot. I'm a big Nat sound guy. Even as a guy that has broadcast games in the booth myself, I love the silence and letting the atmosphere speak for itself. And Utah State has one of the best. What is kind of the mantra of Pac-12 Enterprises in bringing the energy of the arena to the audience at home?
Well, full disclosure, my brother was an assistant coach at Utah State for the last 2 years. So I attended multiple games. He's at Cincinnati now, but I attended multiple games there. And I took the time to sit in the herd student section for a half, and it is an amazing atmosphere, number one. So I agree with you. I'd say San Diego State as well has an amazing atmosphere, and we have a ton of amazing atmospheres. Those two really jump out, and hopefully all the other school in Gonzaga, right? I could keep going, but I think we have an opportunity. We have multiple amazing environments that people nationally aren't familiar with. So my advice always to announcers is my mentor, Dan Steer at ESPN, who's now working for USA Sports. It just keeps coming around. Economy of words. That is the easiest way. If your goal should be to illustrate your point in as few words as possible, because that allows more time to hear the arena and the sounds of the game. And don't be afraid of silence, because your silence is actually allow what you're saying, the environment of the arena, to get home. So I think, and the other thing is, when there's a moment, you just have to lay out, is what we say. Just stop talking, let the moment play out, show the shots. I thought, and some disagreed, but I thought the World Cup after goals was phenomenal, because they didn't jam right to the replays, right? It was almost like you're waiting for but the atmosphere, because you never have the excitement in that moment. You can't get that live excitement a moment back. You can always go and do the replays. And this is a producer talking, which we'd never, most producers would never say that. But the live is only there once, and only there at that moment. So capture that. And I don't need you talking over that either. You can always tell me what happened after, but let the moment play. So actually, I may clip off a few of those post-goal World Cup moments where the announcers weren't talking, they weren't jamming to replay, and just the emotion was captured, because I think we're going to have some great moments like that. You can always go back and tell me what happened, but talking over that net sound and that moment, and what are you going to say? Like, the pictures tell the whole story. So if anybody has any doubts, go back and watch Kirk Gibson's home run to it was game 2, I think, with the Dodgers, and Vin Scully didn't speak for, I think it was 1 minute and 25 seconds, and didn't need to. And then when he did speak, it was poetry. So that's one of my favorite clips. She is gone. About a minute 20 later, I think he said, the improbable, the impossible has happened. I can't even do it because he's Vin. But anyone who wants to be a great broadcaster or interested in broadcasting, you should go back and watch that clip, because that's, to me, exactly what you're talking about. Let the moment breathe. Let the pictures tell the story. You can always eventually say what needs to be said. There's plenty of time to come back and document it.
Yeah. One of my favorite plays in recent years was the Minneapolis Miracle, the Vikings Saints playoff game, and Stephon Diggs walk-off touchdown. There's a shot, I believe it's from the Vikings crew from the sideline, and it's all Nat sound, but it tells, like you said, the whole story. I don't need anybody telling me anything. It just happens, and it was amazing. And the crowd reaction, the energy is fantastic. I love that stuff. And I know one of the guys you worked with, Bill Raftery, he was an amazing announcer, but still is. I'm saying when I was growing up, he was one of the guys that would I enjoyed I would watch a game because he was calling it, because he was so much fun to listen to. But if somebody made a buzzer beater, he would react in the moment with surprise or glee or whatever, and then he would let it breathe before he came in and gave his pearls, just like Vin. And that made it so much more fun because you got to celebrate while you were watching it with him, and then it went on.
There are announcers that there's an exception to every rule, and Bill Raftery's honest celebratory reaction on a big moment is additive. But all of you out there, don't try that at home. There's very few. And by the way, I just thought of, in the year of the improbable, the impossible has happened. That's what Vin said. I just remembered it. It was poetry.
And your mentor's idea of word economy is kind of been adopted by the current generation. Your kids may have this: say less,
talk less, smile more, I think was
right.
Something I heard in the
All right, so last question I have for you. Week 13 of the Pac-12 football schedule is going to be incredible with the flex games. We don't know who's going to be playing who, but we know they're going to be meaningful games, and that means week 12 is going to be crucial. What is the plan as we build to that, to kind of cover those changing matchups in real time as the games are being played on the field, while still being true to those moments in the games?
Well, a little bit of us were kind of building the airplane while we're flying it with this, because I always say, I think we're going to learn a lot in year one. I think we've got a plan, we've got the rules, we have what we're trying to do with it. But I think there's going to be something that happens that nobody's thought of, which I think that makes it even more interesting. I think to clarify for people, the first 12 weeks, all those conference matchups count in the standings, and then the standings are done, the flex week is conference teams playing a non-conference matchup technically, because it doesn't affect the standings. So, ultimately the idea is, how can we use those matchups to create compelling games, and what is the best path for a team to advance to the playoff? Or maybe you have two teams with 5 wins. Why don't you put those together? Because then one of them is going to get into a bowl game. I don't know. Those are just things I've thought of that, I think we won't know for sure till we get there, but I think it's going to be interesting, the whole thought process and the debate around it. I think that's what we're looking for, and to make that game would have been probably a non-conference smaller school coming in blowout. So now we're trying to make it a more compelling matchup that might help a team get into the playoff, might help a team get into a bowl, might set up a matchup that we haven't thought about, that, wow, this would be perfect. Like you were, I think there's a lot of possibilities, but we're going to learn a lot as we go.
Well, it's going to be exciting. I'm a Fresno State grad and fan, but I'm supporting the whole Pac-12 because I obviously want this to launch. It's been a dream of mine since I was a student there for Fresno State to be in the Pac-12. And I get that it's not what the Pac-12 used to be. I don't care. Seeing that patch on Fresno State's jerseys, seeing that logo on their field, being a Pac-12 school, I take a lot of pride in that already, and I'm sure it's only going to grow over time. And I love that it is one of the only regional conferences in America. It is a West Coast conference, from Texas to, as I say here, it's from the Gulf to the Pacific, from Canada to Mexico. That is the Pac-12 right now, and it's only going to grow from there. And some compelling stories and programs, and I think it's going to be a great season. I hope people give it a chance. I hope it is a success and grows from here. And I appreciate you giving us some time and insights into how we're going to be watching the games and experiencing them this coming season.
My pleasure. Nice talking with you.